as you can see by the title, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. You guys probably know by now that I like to try to switch up the content on my channel so that I'm not always doing the same thing. And since I don't really do role plays or anything, I sometimes have to think outside of the box extra a little bit, I guess, if you know what I'm saying, to provide that different content. It's also nice for me because it switches things up for me. So I was thinking about what I haven't done in a while, and I haven't really done like a cooking / baking video where I'm in the kitchen and, you know, I make something. So I figured, why not do that? One of my friends pointed this recipe out to me not that long ago, and so when I was thinking about like what I could make, it came to my mind, and that is the edible cookie dough recipe. Now, edible basically means that normal raw cookie dough that you bake with is technically not really good for you, and I was that kid that when I made cookies at home with like the Toll House cookie dough or whatever, I would eat the cookie dough. I did that as a kid, probably more than I should have, because cookie dough typically has raw eggs, which can get you sick with salmonella, and you know, it's just not good for you, and you can get sick if you eat too much. So this recipe makes cookie dough that's supposed to taste like normal cookie dough, but that is safe to eat, and you don't have to bake it at all. Apparently you can bake this recipe as well, but I didn't do that. So this video is a little bit of a fail, and you'll see why. I haven't tasted it yet, but from appearances, it did not turn out the way that it was supposed to. Again, you'll see why. But if this is a total flop, then none of you have to try this recipe, and it'll just purely be for ASMR purposes. You know, the whispering, the visuals. Some people like the visuals of cooking, and I'm sure there will be mouth sounds when I try it. So if all else fails, this will just be for ASMR purposes. So we are gonna try it, but before we do that, let's get into the actual process in the kitchen of how I came up with my end result. Okay, so to begin, we are going to start with 2¼ cups of all-purpose white flour, and we are actually going to bake this flour. And the reason for that is because we're essentially eating raw cookie dough. Flour can sometimes have bacteria that can be harmful to you, which I did not know. So because we are not really cooking the cookie dough, we at least need to bake the flour to get rid of any risky bacteria that may be in there. So it's going to go in the oven at 350 for about 12 minutes on just a regular baking sheet. And while that is baking, we're going to combine 1 cup of unsalted room temperature butter, as well as 1½ cups of light brown sugar. And once that is mixed together, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of milk, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And again, we're going to mix that all together. And now, once I take the flour out of the oven, I try to do it as gracefully as possible. I just poured it out onto parchment paper and slipped it into the mix. I would recommend letting the flour cool. I did not do that, and you will see why that was a mistake in a little bit. Also, I would not recommend using an electric mixer right away because the flour will go everywhere. So instead of the mixer, I just used a spatula to kind of combine it a little more gently and a little more neat. And then once that is all combined together, I'm gonna pour in 2 cups of chocolate chips, and it calls for semi-sweet chocolate chips, but I used regular milk chocolate chips because honestly those are my favorite. And I just used the spatula for the rest of the combining just because it was so much easier. Now, as you can see, the chocolate chips melted because I did not let the flour cool. The flour was completely warm and melted the chocolate, so this was the end result. So yes, here they are. I'm sure I probably wrote it up on the screen already, but they look like meatballs. They don't look like cookie dough. And what happened is the recipe did not say this, even though it's probably common sense, but I just didn't think about it. When I got the flour out of the oven, I didn't let it cool at all. I just put it right into the batter, so the chocolate chips melted, and so I guess we could just say it's chocolate cookie dough, but these for real look like meatballs. Like if this is the first part of the video you saw, and I showed you this, and I told you they were meatballs, 99% of you would believe me. So they smell good. All I really smell, honestly, is the brown sugar and the vanilla, which makes me a little bit worried, because every time I do one of these videos, I always say, like, I'm gonna put less vanilla than it calls for, and then I always forget. But sometimes the vanilla is just too, like, powerful for me. So what I didn't show is that I kept these in the fridge for like 30 minutes after I made it, like while I washed the dishes and washed everything up, so they're a little more firm. I can't get over how much they look like meatballs. Okay, I am for sure not gonna eat all of these. I will most likely just eat one, maybe, if it tastes good. And look at me with my plastic silverware. See, it's very crumbly, like it was supposed to be a lot more firm. Alright, it's no Toll House, but it's a lot better than I expected it to be. I really did not think it was going to taste very good. I wonder what it needed, if it needed more butter or what, so that it wouldn't be so crumbly. This is why I don't bake, or really, I mean, I cook sometimes, but not that much. It's crumbling. Sorry, you can't see that, can you? I think because the chocolate is so melted and it's like infused within the cookie dough, it literally just kind of tastes like chocolate. So rather than chocolate chip cookie dough, we'll just say it's chocolate cookie dough. Whatever. I'm gonna take a little water break. It's rich. I didn't think it would be, but it is. Yeah, for sure, if I had more than one of these, my stomach would not feel very good. So, would I recommend this recipe? If you did it better than me. If you did it the way I did it, I would have to say no. It's not fantastic, but it's okay. I can actually taste like the salt through the vanilla and the sugar and the chocolate, and it's a nice little breakup of how sweet it is. I would be very curious to bake one of these. The guy that I got the recipe from, he baked just one cookie from his batter, and he tasted it, and he said, "Is it the best cookie in the world?" No, but it's really good still. I don't know about that. If any of you actually try this though, or just know how to make cookie dough from scratch on your own, like that you can eat, let me know how it tastes and what you did differently. So, there we go. I ate one. Okay, a little bit more water. It's funny, I knew I was gonna try this today, and I had pretty much all of the ingredients, minus 3 of them, but originally I thought that I was just missing 2, so I went to the supermarket, bought the 2 things, came back, started pulling everything out, and then I forgot one of the ingredients. So I had to go back, and I went back to the supermarket, and one of the employees was like, "Aren't you just here?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." Anyway, so this was a process. I don't know if it was worth it, but I hope you enjoyed this short video. I know it's short, but it was just something fun to do. And I was just curious. I wanted to try it out. And originally I told myself, if the cookie dough's not good, I'm just not going to post the video. But I'm probably going to post it anyway because it wasn't that bad. And, yeah, I spent all the time on it, so why not? Although, I'll say the longest part of it was baking the flour, and you can let it bake while you're making everything else. So, in total, it only took like 15 minutes to put it together. You don't have to put it in the refrigerator to firm up. I would recommend it, but you don't have to. So I could have just made it in 15 minutes and then just ate it. But anyway, so I'm sorry that this was mostly a fail, but I hope that you enjoyed it a